Aloha, Hawaii. My name is Paul Jackson, better known as PJ on the radio. I do have a local sports radio show called the PJ Sports Radio Show, and we are a new show here at ThinkTech, and hopefully we'll be bringing you a variety of local sporting news and community-related sports issues, as well as local guests from all aspects of the sporting world in Hawaii. So I hope you tune in, and we'll keep you posted here on Think Tech with all the local sports updates. Today I have actually a close friend of mine who is my first guest, and his name is Shaun Suller. His hometown is Shelton, Connecticut. He's been a local resident here for 13 years, and Shaun is here because he is a professional poker player. And for all of the local people out there who follow the WPT, you would know Shaun Suller. Hopefully, he's been at it for about a year, but we'll sit back and let Shaun tell you a little bit about himself. Now, Shaun, how did you originally come to Hawaii?
I came to Hawaii to go to Hawaii Pacific University in 2000. I seen the school in a senior newspaper and was like, I gotta go to Hawaii. So being from Connecticut, I'd never been to Hawaii, but that's how I came to Hawaii.
Okay, now when you got to HPU, was it a culture change? Was it what captivated you besides that picture when you first came down and saw HPU in real life, actually?
It was a great school. I actually played baseball there, met a lot of good friends, and really fell in love with the culture here in Hawaii, and I've just been here ever since. So, but now I currently reside in Las Vegas. This year I moved there, and that's where all the poker action is. But I grew my game here in Hawaii and started playing.
Okay, and a little inside scoop tells me that you actually come back to the islands to get your aura, to get mentally prepared to go out there and attack those guys.
Yeah, it's funny. I used to work out here full time in insurance, and I'd always fly to Vegas for vacation to play poker. But now I find myself flying back to Hawaii for vacation to recharge from the travel on the poker tour and the bad beats and just getting away from the scene per se. So I just do my best to do very well on the road, and then I come back to Hawaii to recharge.
A little bit of a switch up, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, now what was college life like at HPU, and is that where you started first playing poker and just pick up games or whatever?
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, I didn't really get into poker in college. I really focused on studies and playing baseball. I played baseball for HPU for 2 years. And then after that, I graduated and got into the insurance industry. And it wasn't until I was really plateauing at my job in my insurance career that I really looked toward poker. The first book I picked up, I read it, and I won a local tournament here for about $1,000, and I was hooked. I figured if I could just read one book, what sky's the limit.
Okay, now at what point, at what exact point did you stop and say, hey, I really want to be a professional poker player. I want to make this commitment on what it's going to take to be a professional poker player?
Well, I kind of fell into it. I studied the game. I was playing a lot of these tournaments out here in Hawaii, and I was using all my vacation time to go to Vegas. The first $500 buy-in I played at the Wynn in Las Vegas, I final tabled it. There was 100 players, and I won $2,600. And I was just like, wow. So then I played a bracelet event that summer, and it was my first WSOP bracelet event. It was a $1,500 buy-in, and I wound up cashing in that. It was just a min cash, but it was for another $2,800. And at that point, I was hooked. I still kept working in insurance professionally because I loved Hawaii and didn't want to leave it. So all of 2012, I really only had one cash. And it wasn't until 2013 where I really broke through and had my first six-figure cash on a World Series of Poker circuit event at Caesar's Palace.
And that's the point that you said, hey, I can be a professional. I can make a living doing this.
Well, not exactly, because I was still working full time. I didn't want to leave Hawaii. You need a full-time job out here. Like to be a professional poker player from Hawaii is really tough.
Right.
It wasn't until I lost my job because I went and played the main event. Well, it wasn't necessarily because I went and played the main event. It's just, I kept going to Vegas, and I busted the main event, and I came back, and I lost my job that I worked for 6 years for. It was kind of heartbreaking, but it was a blessing in disguise. It was the best thing that could happen to me. It gave me the opportunity to chase my dream, and my first World Poker Tour event at Legends of Poker in LA, I cashed for $8,000. So that was really awesome. So I decided to just keep trying the World Poker Tour. They have the best tournament structure. They get the best players, and I just kept. I was fortunate at my second World Poker Tour event, the Bellagio 5 Diamond. I was able to final table that one.
Which was last year around this time, right?
Yeah, okay. December 2013. Yeah, and that was the breakthrough moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at that point, after you came back and lost your job, you know, you were just all in. You were all in right there at that point, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had to give it, my best shot.
Okay. Now, once you decided that that's what you wanted to do, okay, what did you have to do mentally? What did you have to do physically to say, okay, I'm going from an amateur to a pro? Because I mean, these guys are seriously competing in every tournament, and it's big money at stake.
Yeah.
So what kind of preparation did you do for that?
Yeah. Well, in November I made a final table on the Heartland Poker Tour. It was a $1,600 buy-in, so I was able to put that money up, and I actually final tabled it for $35K. So then I was able to play the Bellagio 5 Diamond World Poker Tour event. That's a $10,000 buy-in. So I didn't want to put up $10,000, so I went and found some backers, investors that would buy shares of me, and I was able to sell some percentage and raise, kind of spreads the variance, lowers my risk, and I was able to take a shot. And once I hit that one, I was bankrolled, and then it was all about just working hard and just keep getting better, keep evolving my game, and just keep playing perfect poker, striving to play perfect poker.
Okay, now to the people out there who don't know, explain exactly what backers are. I mean, explain to them what that is.
Well, basically, I treat it almost as an investment. The buy-in is it's $10,000. I say I'll sell 30%, $1,000 for 10% usually, and then you charge a little markup, and then that's how you raise money to play high-stake buy-in tournaments. Yeah.
And of course, you have to have a reputation. You have to be. I mean, for people to invest in you, everybody wants to make a positive investment. So if people are investing in you, that should let you know that your poker game is at least, heading in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. To get the support, to have one of your buddies support you enough to put you out there, and then to return it to them. So my first backers were really happy because I had a $303,000 score right off the bat for them. So that was really good. Okay,
now, in a nutshell, now your first official year on the World Poker Tour, give it to me in a nutshell. Like scheduling, any kind of different, things that you had to adjust to, physically, as far as traveling and all that. Just explain the first year to me in a nutshell.
The first year was really exciting. I got to travel to California. I played a bunch of tournaments there, Legends of Poker, LAPC, which is another 10K buy-in, at Commerce Casino. I was in Florida playing in the Hard Rock Seminole. I was playing in Jacksonville, Florida. Of course, Atlantic City at the Borgata, played the national championship there. My first year, I was very blessed to make 2 final tables. I made the final table at Bellagio 5 Diamond and Bay 101 Shooting Star, and put me in Player of the Year race. So I was in the Player of the Year race, so I was able to chase the best player that puts together the best season. Their season runs about 10 and 13 events. And then and there's certain ones that are on TV, so they're on Fox Sports Net.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so I wound up finishing runner-up to the Player of the Year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you have to adjust to any traveling? You know, like, and I'm sure your traveling picked up the more that you became a professional. Did you have to adjust in any kind of way? You know, as far as that, I know you're from the East Coast and you're used to East Coast, but you've been out here for a while.
Yeah.
You know, does traveling wear you down? Does it get you down a little bit?
When you're on the road, yes. Coming from Hawaii too, so the flights are always long. So you really got to plan out which stops you're going to go to. So when I fly back to Vegas, and then everything's from Vegas there. So Vegas has kind of been my new home base for this year, and I stayed there, you know, most of the year. Was there all through the summer. You know, I came back to Hawaii a couple of times, you know, I still keep my apartment here because I just don't want to let it go.
Right.
And yeah, Hawaii does me good. So every time, you know, the road really wears you down. You know, all the traveling, all the casinos, there's smokers everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even though the poker areas usually are non-smoking, so that's really good. But yeah.
Okay, now if you were to sit down to a tournament, do they have a limit on how many hours you play every day, or do they wait till you just get down to a certain amount of players? How does that exactly work?
Okay. Well, the tournaments, you usually play 10 levels. The levels are anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour to an hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours. So the main event, the World Series of Poker main event, is 2 hour levels. I just played the 5-diamond Bellagio, 5-diamond season 13 of the World Poker Tour. And we played 5 levels a day of hour and a half.
And 5 levels means that they're raising the blinds 5 times?
Yeah, the blinds and antes increase each level. There'll be an increase to the small blind and big blind for those. Yeah,
so you're looking at anywhere between 5 to 8 hours every day?
Yeah, usually 8 to 10 hours.
Oh, 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, and like, do you have to prepare yourself as far as like diet and you know, I mean, you have to keep your brain sharp during that point in time. Do you have like a diet for when you're playing poker or certain things that help you along the way?
Yeah, I try and eat healthy. I try and stay fit. I always try and stay at the gym. You know, just getting routine exercise. I do a lot of stretching. Yoga is a big part of my routine now. Meditation is really huge for me. Yeah, and just staying trained like a champion athlete, you know, because that's
Okay.
what it's all about.
All right.
Yeah, because your brain just needs the optimal function at
Right.
that levels.
Physically outside means mental positive physicality too. Also, well, we're here with Shaun Suller. You can catch him on Facebook.com/gpoker808. And we're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back with professional poker player Shaun Suller.
Aloha, I'm Keli'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
We're back here live with Shaun Suller, professional poker player. Like I said before the break, you can reach him at facebook.com/gpoker808. And we're talking story here with Shaun. He's been a local resident here for 13 years. And this is his first year as a full-time player on the World Poker Tour. And he's just given us a glimpse into a little bit of where he came from when he came to Hawaii to the point that he's at now. with a full year under his belt on the World Poker Tour, which is an accomplishment in itself to somebody like me. That's awesome. Now, every player has their reputation. Okay, are you known as a type player? What's your MO?
Well, you'd have to ask the other players I play against, but I was just playing in this tournament, the last tournament of the year. I made this final table at Planet Hollywood in their main event. It was a $200K guaranteed prize pool, $500 buy-in. This kid recognized me from the World Poker Tour, and now after being on the World Poker Tour for the past year, like, people start to recognize me. I usually wear the sports jerseys. You know, it's kind of like my game now. And
that's your uniform.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, it's so the kid was asking me about that, and then with 9 players left, I tried to make a bluff on the river, and he hero called me with third pair, which is a pretty bad poker hand of, like, with the board that was showed. So he just went with it, and he made a hero call. So I think it was more easier to make him. He knew more about my game than I knew about his through the media coverage and what he's seen on TV, and yeah, so. Yeah.
Right now, that
kids
was,
come out, you're a little bit different now when you're, you know, featured
right.
on the World Poker Tour. So the media coverage is great, and it's pretty rewarding, but at the same time, it kind of hurts your game a little bit, but you just got to adjust to it. So
right.
That's the fun part.
Right.
The fun part, and yeah, everybody's a fan.
All right. Well, that's what I was going to get into next. You know, now that you're known and that people see you, you know, they want to make a name. Oh, I busted Shaun Suller at this or that. I mean, do you find that more often now?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, a little bit. It was really funny. I was playing in Colorado. Colorado is a beautiful place to play. There's a lot of players, recreational players, that go and enjoy themselves. And I actually got to the table, and one of the guys on my right looked at me and said, "Are you Shaun Suller?" And it was funny, he busted out his phone, and all the poker players, once you start cashing in tournaments, the information is on the internet, so
right.
They can Google your name and pull up your poker stats, and then they pull up your picture, and then they show you, "Hey, this is you, yeah."
Yeah.
So it's a cool feeling, though. I mean, the World Poker Tour is pretty well known, so. Yeah,
right.
Representing Hawaii, I got to do the Aloha Chop. I created the Aloha Chop at Bay 101.
I think I seen that. I think I did see that. Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't know how many just local tournaments you play in and stuff like that, but I mean, when you do, of course, you know, people are going to be shooting for you and stuff like that. But I mean, do you have certain guidelines? Do you have certain rules that you go by, no matter what, no matter who's at the table, as far as poker sense is concerned?
I guess I always follow a certain strategy, but, you know, it's always about having fun.
Right.
So I always just try and have fun and play the hand the best way possible. You know, you always you got to play the hand the best way to win, and you know, you got to play your opponent.
Okay.
And it's all about having fun. So
all right.
If I'm not having fun, I'm not going to be playing.
All right. Now speaking of fun, can you share with us a couple of stories, you know, about the people who we see on TV? I know you got one with Phil Ivey.
Yeah.
Or, you know, a couple of, if you can share a couple of those, that would be great.
Yeah, the Phil Ivey one is really cool. I was playing in a World Series of Poker event this summer. It was a $3,000 buy-in shootout event style. So what a shootout event is all 9 players sit at the table, and you play down to one winner, who collects all the chip, who eventually knocks out all the rest of the players. So,
right.
So at the first break, Phil Ivey, he late registers the tournament, and he's down to like 7,900 in chips, and I had like 7,800 in chips. And so as Phil Ivey, I was like, you want to make a last longer bet, you know, whoever lasts longer. So $500. He wasn't going to turn it down. It was the best story of the summer. I actually I didn't play a hand after I made the last longer bet with him, and just folded because I wasn't getting any hands.
Right.
So he looks at me and is like, you know, I wouldn't have made the last longer bet if I knew you weren't going to play a hand. So, and then eventually he got coolered by Shannon Shore, who was also at the table, another professional. He was like, he couldn't fold queens to kings, and he busted out, and then he paid me the $500.
Wow.
And I got to tweet about it, and I really wanted to take a selfie when he was paying me, but I thought that would be a little rude. But
Yeah.
the rest of the other pros at the table were like, "Did you just win the last longer with Phil Ivey?"
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah.
I mean, how is that going up against Phil Ivey and like a little prop bet and him having to come pay you? I mean,
I
that's
busted
awesome.
third from the table, so I really wanted to win the table. But, you know, what are you going to do? We get him next summer.
All right, now, as far as the World Poker Tour is concerned, you know, like, and you're traveling, do you travel with another player? Do you travel with multiple players when you go to different spots? Do you have travel buddies? And, I mean, how does that work out?
Yeah, well, I started to know more people on the World Poker Tour now, but I still usually travel by myself. Once I go to Vegas, though, I have a bunch of friends there that I usually hang out with, and a lot of players come into town in Vegas, and yeah, I always have guys coming in for tournaments there, and then the group of friends I hang out with on the World Poker Tour, guys like Tony Dunce, we talk hands together. You know, a lot of guys, that's what they do. They'll hang out together so they could share hand histories and get better.
Right.
At the game. Yeah.
I'm sure that's plenty of knowledge going into those conversations, especially, you know, you being on the younger side of what poker used to be. You know, when they had this big switch from, I wouldn't say old school poker to new school poker, but, you know, like the old Phil Hellmuth, you know, who had like 10 opening hands that he would only play or something like that. But then the younger generation came in and, you know, will play anything and just mix it up. I mean, are you somewhere in between there? I mean, without giving up too much information.
Yeah, I guess the online poker, I think, really changed the game, but now online poker is no longer allowed in the U.S. except for Las Vegas and Atlantic City, New Jersey. New Jersey and Nevada, you can play online poker. So they shut it down. So now a lot of kids got really good. The younger generation got really good playing online poker.
Right.
And but now you're seeing the online poker is only illegal in Canada and Europe and the other countries. So there's like this this kind of gap that's coming up now. But I didn't really play online poker. I played live out here in Hawaii, and then started flying out to Vegas and played in Vegas, and then eventually just got a sound tournament strategy that really works for me, and it's done me. You know, I found my calling and my passion in life, and you know, this is what I was meant to do. So keep on doing it.
Now, would you put your strategy more towards the old school or more towards the new school?
I would definitely new school. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely new school.
All right. Yeah, because you know, me as just being a fan and watching, you know, I think I know what I'm doing, but that's just like a normal baseball fan watching a baseball game or something. But you know, I did notice the change, especially, you know, when you talk about Phil Hellmuth and Doyle Brunson and Johnny Chan and some of the older guys. You know, these new guys sort of came in and, you know, made them elevate their game. You know, it was sort of like, you know, when Tiger Woods came into golf and elevated it, you know, all these guys had to catch up with them. Is that what you feel is going on with the younger generation did to, you know, because these older guys are now still competing, you know, and it's sort of like a whole different strategy going on.
Yeah. Well, Phil Hellmuth still tears it up in the no limit world. He actually busted me from a tournament. It was one of my deeper runs this summer in the World Series. I cashed in one of this event and busted 37 to him.
Wow.
So he's still a top-notch player, and he's, you know, one of the best.
Now, do you think he's had to evolve his game a little bit to catch up with the new school too? Like
definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Strategy just keeps evolving, and the game has gotten, it's a lot tougher. Tournament poker, especially, is a tough sport or tough game, and and the strategies just keep evolving, and people get more aggressive, and it's just...
Now, not to sidetrack you or anything, but I would have paid $1,000 to see you bust Phil Hellmuth just to see what his reaction would have been, because you know he's famous for what's he, the poker brat, and just, you know, blowing up on guys who don't make percentage decisions or whatever. I mean, I've seen him on TV. Yeah, have you ever seen him have a live blow up in real life?
No, I haven't really seen it. Yeah, he seems like he's toned that down. But yeah, every poker player goes a little nuts when they get a bad beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just have different ways of showing it.
Yes.
All right. Now, as far as Phil Ivey, he's top notch. Okay, what sets Phil Ivey apart from everybody else?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of elite players in the game now.
Right.
Besides
not only
Phil Ivey.
Yes.
Yeah. But you know, Daniel Negreanu is the all-time money leader now, with about 29 million or tournament earnings or something like that. But yeah, he's constantly winning high rollers. His bankroll has a big part to do with it, but he's like the best in the world.
Even what's the one guy's name? Antonio.
Esfandiari.
Yeah, Esfandiari.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, okay. See, let me rephrase it. What sets those guys apart from everybody else?
Amateurs.
Yeah.
You know, they just there's some natural ability, I think, maybe, to, you know, read people, to read the cards that you get and play the hands certain ways and know the strategy. And they've been playing for years now, so they just constantly evolve their games to keep getting better, and they have a hard work and hard discipline just like any other pro athlete would. So yeah, what poker's happened, there's a lot more record keeping with the stats of the, you know, the money earned. There's a ranking system now that ranks all the tournament poker players. So you're seeing the skilled players consistently winning in the game.
Right.
And what separates the men from the boys is just, I guess, their will to win and their drive to be the best they can be. And then they get bankrolled. Once you get bankrolled and start managing your bankroll well, then that's how you stay in the game.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, we're here once again with local professional poker player Shaun Suller. He now resides in Las Vegas, but he's definitely a local boy. He's been here for the last 13 years, HPU grad. And we'll be right back, right here on High Tech with Shaun Suller.
Hi, I'm your host on ThinkTech Asia, Bill Sharp. I look forward to you joining us each Monday between 4 and 5 o'clock when we film right here in our studio in downtown Honolulu. The show, ThinkTech Asia, focuses on contemporary events in Asia. And by Asia, we mean anything from Hawaii, south to Australia and New Zealand, west to Pakistan, and as far north as the Russian Far East. Clearly, this is one of the most economically dynamic centers of the world, and we bring you up to date on what's going on in a whole host of countries in this very vital region. We look forward to seeing you. Aloha.
We are back here with local resident professional poker player Shaun Suller, going over some of his journeys through the World Poker Tour over the last year. If you just joined us, of course, he's a HPU graduate, and he's, like I said, he's been a local resident for 13 years. And Shaun, tell us a little bit about the business side of poker. You know, people just see everything on television and all the glamour and glitz, but you really have to take into account your schedule, you know, and certain costs and stuff like that. If you could talk a little bit about that, you know, and you know, what you have to do to prepare to do that.
Yeah, the business side of poker there's a lot of expenses, and there's not only in tournament poker 10% of the field makes the money, so 90% of the field is losers. So you really gotta be really good, and I've been really fortunate to have big scores, so it's allowed me to keep taking opportunities and keep taking shots and get backing. But there's not many sponsorships. Like if you compare it to golf, you got to make the tour, you got to make the cut to make the tour, and like I think 30% of the field makes the money or whatever once you're on the tour, and then once you're on the tour you get a lot of sponsors. So when you travel to another golf tournament, you have stuff paid for. Your expenses are paid for by the sponsors.
Right.
In poker, there's not really many sponsors because online poker was shut down in the U.S. So the players don't have, professional poker players don't have all the sponsorship money. So they had to find other ways to to play in the tournaments, and hopefully you have a good return on your investment when you look at the amount of buy-ins you've played at the end of the year as opposed to the amount of cash you've earned from tournament cashes. And if you're not running deep in tournaments where you're not making final tables, where the bulk of the prize pool is in the top 3 spots in tournament poker. So if you're not making the top 3, you're not really gonna survive, if you can't make top 3 in tournaments.
Right.
Eventually win one. You gotta,
It's just going to be that your winnings are just eventually just paying off for your traveling and all your expenses and stuff like that.
Yeah, it'd be hard to turn a profit. So there's also cash games. So a player will play cash games to subsidize their tournament buy-in. So you play the cash games to earn your cash, then you can gamble in the tournaments. But I'm a tournament player, so I play mainly tournaments.
Right.
And I've found really a lot of success. So.
Okay, so you're not really a cash game player. I'm sure you play cash games, but when the big money's on the line, you're a tournament.
Yeah. Most all my success has been in tournaments, but
yeah.
I still grind cash game. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the safest way. Cash games can get out of hand, from what I hear.
Yeah. There's some big high stakes cash games in Vegas. I really don't play high stakes cash games. I play 5-10 at the Bellagio.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, then maybe 10-20.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I just need to take shots. And go to Macau maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Play Macau.
Okay. And now if you were to give some advice to somebody who's sort of traveled down your road, not exactly, but similar, and they say they're ready to make this jump into being a professional poker player after your first year, well, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would probably tell them to definitely set aside your money for your living expenses and the amount of money you have for your poker budget and what tournaments you're going to play. I would recommend the World Series of Poker circuit events, which are smaller buy-ins, and that's the first tournament I hit was a $1,600 buy-in main event and for $100K. That was like my big score, and then so those events are affordable. There's the Heartland Poker Tour is another great tour to play, but really, tournament poker you really have to build a bankroll first,
right,
and make sure it's not going to affect the way you live, because poker is so tough that you need to.
Right.
Really set your foundation strong to survive.
You can't be out at a tournament thinking about, your bills and stuff back home. That couldn't be possibly healthy while you're at a tournament, right?
Yeah, no, you don't. You definitely do not want to be playing with your life roll, we call it. So your life roll is separate from your bankroll. So you can play with your bankroll, and you can do whatever you want with it, but it just shouldn't affect your life.
Right. And like you said earlier, playing poker to you, it's fun. That's fun. Now, it's still somewhat of a business. So how do you balance both of them? I know exactly what you mean when you say it's fun, because I can't do my job without it being fun. It's fun, but then there's a certain business part to it that you have to manage too. How do you sort of balance the both?
It's the best job I could have, so it's like my own business. So I put in whatever I put in, I should hopefully get out a good return. So, and it's always fun. So it's great to play in a tournament. There's nothing like playing in a 10K tournament for me. So it's,
That's how it is. That's just like teeing up on the most beautiful spot in the world and just hitting it right down the middle. There's nothing better. Yeah. Now, Shaun Suller, of course, Facebook.com/GPoker808, 18 cashes. Shaun, you want to show these people your hat, and we're going to run this little contest from Shaun here. Go ahead and take over and let me know what it's about, and you can You can call up the PJ Sports Radio Show, and Shaun has something for you here. Go
Oh,
ahead,
well, I
Shaun.
was just going to say, if you go to my Facebook page at, like PJ said, facebook.com/gpoker808, you hit like and then leave a comment on the wall. I'll raffle off a couple of these hats and send them to you. So if you're the only one that likes it, then
There you go. Right there, gpoker.com.
all right.
All right. We're going to be raffling off some of those. Go to his website, facebook.com/gpoker808, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, Shaun, we appreciate that you don't have to do that, but, tell us about growing up in Hawaii. Well, not growing up, but going to school in Hawaii, excuse me. And, what the islands do, how it helps elevate your game. I know that you come here for serenity and peace and stuff like that. How does that elevate your game?
Like I said, it's just, it takes me away from everything. I get out of the atmosphere of the casino environment.
Right.
Just coming back to Hawaii and relaxing and enjoying the beach, not having to work full time in Hawaii is pretty fun.
Right. Now, like you said, the casino circuit, man. I mean, people can get really caught up into that. I talk to you and I see that you have a solid background, even though that's where you make your money. You still have the reality of what life is. You want to come back to the place that makes you comfortable and stuff like that. I mean, not everybody can balance it like that, man. I accommodate you for that, and how do you do it so well?
I don't know. It's just Hawaii is a special place, so I'm starting to find myself not spending as much time here anymore, but the time that I do spend here is great.
Okay, now and moving forward from here, since you have your residence in Nevada now, but Hawaii's still home. What is Shaun Suller moving forward to do next year, the year after? I mean, as far as poker, what are your plans for the next couple years?
Yeah, I would like to play in, some higher buy-in tournaments, maybe some high rollers, which are like $25K, $8,000 buy-ins and higher. But also traveling the European Poker Tour. So I've already played the World Poker Tour, so I'm gonna go travel into Europe for the European Poker Tour events. I played in the Bahamas last year, in January last year. Yeah, January 2014. Yeah, and that was fun. The Bahamas PCA is a European Poker Tour event, and that was real fun. So I'm going to play more European Poker Tour events for 2015 and continue the World Poker Tour. And I cashed at the Bellagio 5 Diamond Season 13 just recently. So I'm coming off a decent December.
Okay. Now, do you play against very many European players on the WPT? Do they have different strategy than American players, or are they a little bit more loose? I mean, how is it played against some of the guys from overseas?
Yeah, well, there's not too many that come over to play the World Poker Tour except the professionals.
Right.
So yeah, that's not really an issue, but.
Like Hatcham and those guys did that.
He still travels to pretty much all the big events anyway. So the professionals are going to go to the big tournaments anyway, regardless of where they are. So, it's just pretty much when you go travel to France, you're going to not be playing against American players. They're all mostly are going to be French players.
Right.
The U.S. amateurs aren't going to come out there. So, and then.
Okay, and do you have to adjust your strategy when, like I'm saying, when you're in France or when you're in Europe or when you're playing against European players? You don't know yet?
Well, you adjust your strategy to play against any opponent you play, so you're constantly just playing the other players. So.
Okay, all right. I guess what I'm trying to say is, do the Euros? I mean, can you get a better tell off of those guys than the American guys? I mean, they're a little bit more flamboyant, eccentric, sort of like, or they're portrayed on TV. I mean, is it the same?
Everybody's human, so I play against humans.
Right.
Yeah, everybody acts a little bit differently, so you just, Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't discriminate against who I play against. I'm just
Right.
gonna beat them.
Right. So there's no there's no stereotype from European players to American players to anything like that. It's just each individual player as they come.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's you gotta see how they play, and then you play. You can't going and judging them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious because
Yeah.
I mean everybody it's like if you're a baseball player or something like that and you're going against an American League team or something, it's not like a National League game and stuff like that. So I was just trying to
Yeah.
for my own information there.
Yeah.
Okay, where are you headed next? You got any big tournaments coming up? What's next on the agenda for Shaun Suller?
We're going to play the W World Poker Tour at Borgata in Atlantic City. Then we're gonna go to France probably for a European Poker Tour event in Deauville, France. It's gonna be pretty cold. I think it's in North France.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. Yeah, I think it's Super Bowl weekend too. So I'm skipping out. Oh yeah, so it's Vegas to Atlantic City, then to Europe.
Okay, and are you going to be playing? How big is this tournament in France? Is it like one of the major ones out there? Something like the Bellagio out here? I mean,
It's a 5K euro, $5,000 euro event. It's not. It's one of the smaller stops I think on the European Poker Tour, and yeah. But I heard it's a really the players in France are pretty bad. Actually, yeah, that kind of gets back to what you were looking for. I don't know. That's what I heard. I mean, we don't
Right.
call weaker players,
Right.
But yeah, yeah.
That's sort of what I was trying to get at.
Okay.
I guess I couldn't word it the correct way, but yeah. So going into France, you're going to get warmed up in Vegas, and then Atlantic City, and then France, right?
Yeah.
Now, how long is that? Because that's some traveling right there, man. How long is that traveling going to be?
It'll probably be a week in Atlantic City. Probably, I'm going to do some traveling in France. So the event is Super Bowl weekend, so I'm going to be playing poker and then probably travel around Europe
Right.
for a little bit, explore.
Now, what advantages, of course, does being a professional poker player and getting to travel in all these places? Is there any places besides Hawaii that that you've traveled to that's just knocked you off your feet, or that you want to go back? That's breathtaking. That has brought back a positive, good memory, or anything like that through all the travels that you've had this year?
Probably the Bahamas in January last year. So I really just traveled in the U.S. So Florida was a lot of fun. California, I got to see all of California. So Colorado, I played in Colorado, I played in Philadelphia. So I traveled all the U.S., up the eastern seaboard and the west coast. So now it's time to see the world. But yep. Oh, I went to Montreal, Canada. Yeah, in November. I almost forgot about that one. In November, I went to Montreal, Canada, and that's kind of like another country, right? Canada's
Yeah, Canada's definitely. Now, how were the players up there?
Okay, now I see where you're going with these questions, but yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, they play a lot of poker. They play online poker too. PokerStars you're allowed to play on PokerStars in Canada. So PokerStars is the biggest online site. So they get a lot of hands. They play a lot of hands, and yeah, they're good players. They're decent.
All right.
Even though they are French.
All right.
Yeah. So
Well,
look out, EPT.
Shaun, we wish you good luck here at ThinkTech. All right, and we're about to wrap it up. Once again, we're here with Shaun Suller. You can reach him at facebook.com/gpoker808. And Shaun, thank you for your time, and we'll see you good people later.
All right, aloha.
Much mahalos.